there's two kind of purposes we've done for advisory. There's whatever I plan on starting with, like we're going to do an activity like charades or we do something around a circle. But then the second part is whatever ends up coming up along the way. Like inevitably, one of you will do something that makes it hard for us to keep good company with each other. There's something that makes it hard for us to interact with each other. So then I'll stop and I'll kind of talk about it. Does anyone remember any of the times I've ever stopped before?
Yeah.
It's been like now a couple weeks we've done this. Anybody remember now any time I've ever stopped? For what reason I stopped? I can think of any reason why I've ever had to stop to say, you know, we really can't do that. That's not because it's odd. Because in the other class, I'm talking for totally different reasons. In this class, Bruce, you know one reason why I've stopped? Right. And there's like side conversations happening. Yep. There's one time actually I was watching the videos last night, and this one time I stopped because something happened with you. She was doing the Star Wars lightsaber thing, and I remember I teased you about it, and then everyone kind of laughed and we talked about the whole teasing thing. And there was another time we talked about yeah, the pronunciation with you with chips. We talked about, you know, you might be comfortable teasing others. So those kind of things is part of the advisory. So I say that because next week I'd like to have you guys start running these. And let me explain what that requires. So we'll do it probably just for 1 week. So by that point in time, we'll have about 40 of these done, and that's a really good idea for the others, rest of the school learners. But the requirement is I will give you a website that has about 150 to 200 activities to choose from. You need to pick one that requires really no materials, just one that we can do. You will then plan it. You will tell us how we need to sit. You will run it. The second part is this will be the hardest part. Is ideally if you saw us behaving in some way that was inappropriate, you would stop us and kind of say why that can't happen. So that'd be the tough part. So the main thing was just to plan it, and the second part is while it's actually happening to stop. Okay, so what I want you guys to kind of do today is try to see if you see any time where you actually stopped it and redirected it. Okay, and if your group next week, if you can just split them into 2 groups of 10, that's okay, or 4 groups of 5, that's okay. This has been mostly 20. And next year, I did tell you that next year it's only about 10 or 11 people in the class, so it'd be like Peru's over, so it's going to be really small, and that'd be your group for the whole year. So it's a lot smaller. That's the benefit. Okay, so today we're going to do something called glass half empty, half full. Anybody ever heard of that expression? Glass half empty, half full. Ever? Who's ever heard of glass half empty, half full? Jenna, what does it mean? Right. So Jenna said basically, if you look at something, if you see the glass is half full, it's positive. It's what we use. If it's half empty, it's negative. Anybody have an expression like that in your country where it's like there's 2 ways to look at an issue? It can be positive or negative.
Yeah.
What is it called? What do you say about it?
I'm not gonna say the whole thing, but it's like something.
A little bit louder, I think.
One person sees mud on the ground, and another person sees stars in the sky.
Right. So one person sees mud on the ground, one person sees stars in the sky. Another thing, another one. So it's all about perspective. Like you can look at any 2 issues, and you can look at it as a negative or a positive. At your age, what do you think people are inclined to look at? Positive or negative? What are people usually inclined to want to talk about, like in groups? Think about your peers. How often do you have conversations where it's kind of exciting and fun to be talking about the negative? About the criticizing of people, about the bad things that happen, about what's going on bad at your house, versus how people talk about, let's talk about all the great things my mom and dad do for me. Let's talk about all the amazing travel experience I have with my family, all the great things that kids are doing around here, all the really good learning, all those cool things my teachers have done for me. So the reality is we tend to, as humans, unfortunately, do the negatives. Okay, and I noticed a lot this year. I've noticed a lot this year. I have my son in 7th and my daughter in 10th and moving. Is that we constantly are having conversations about the negative. I have to kind of refocus. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw out a situation that's negative, and then you have to try to figure out what is positive. Okay, but first, before we start, we're going to start with a greeting. So, can you think of a greeting? I usually say good morning. Something another greeting where you have to have your name said by another person. Good morning. That's what we usually do. Good morning names. Okay, what is that? Good day, Mike. Okay. So, good day, Mike. So, good day, Mike. That comes from Uruguay. Papua New Guinea. Oh, that's German. Okay, so you need to say hello to someone with any foreign language at all. Okay. So let's go ahead. I will say one to you, and you say the next one. So, konnichiwa. What is konnichiwa? Well, in what country? Konnichiwa doesn't. So, Miles, you can do anyone you want. No louder.
You just said the only two things that I know.
Cool. Go.
Um,
You can repeat if you guys want. The odds of us knowing 21 different languages. Hola who? Hola fine.
Ni hao.
So we got a sweaty cop, we got a ni hao, we got a shalom. What is shalom from? Israel. What is everything?
It's good morning
And what is it you said? And what is the part you said? Alun Sawat.
Alun.
Alun. No, alun means like hello.
So Alun Sawat.
Alun is actually like good morning.
So Alun Sawat. Now some people I've heard at school say morning cup. Is that just a mixture of is that a mixture of English and Thai? So it's like don't say morning cup.
Well, could you say that?
All the guards, every time I see them, they'll say like morning cup.
Well, because every Thai people rarely used to say "cop," so they like every single English word they pronounce, they like to say "cop" or "cop." Some people
Oh,
who
it's
are
somewhere like somebody like lettuce top and top.
Okay.
Yeah, they
So,
speak
they'll
it
use
down.
put the English word and then just put copper top. Oh no,
Okay, wait, don't hate.
without the physical contact.
Good day, wait, don't hate.
Okay, without the physical contact and threat of physical contact by swinging your hand across his face.
Good day, wait, don't. That doesn't sound good. Just go good day,
How about- say the name first.
Don't he? Wait, it's supposed to be like good day,
No,
don't
no,
he?
that's
Don't
right
he?
there.
You don't say good day. That just means
Oh.
like
Okay, sorry. Okay, Dongi, you're up. Brianna.
Oh, I have a good
Have a good day. Have a good day. Who? Say your name. Say your name. Say your name. It's a. You know, it's a
Huh?
Say your name.
Yeah.
You did. Okay. There you go. Ni hao, Kayla. That's from. Which is it, Mandarin or Cantonese? Kayla, now I can't hear you at all. Hi, Fruza. Where's that from? Now? Hi. How do you say hi? That's from. Oh, that's from Tennessee. Hi. Okay, Fruza, you're up. Namaste. What is namaste from?
India?
It's like the Himalayas, that whole area, South Asia. Okay, namaste, Krista. Hi, Naomi. What'd you say, Naomi? What is that from? How do you say it one more time? No more? How do you no more? Okay. No more. Cool, so we actually have, I think, 12 so far. Jenna? Hello, Lana. Okay, Lana's got like 27 languages she knows. Bonjour, Pin. That is from? Pin. Sweaty Cop Knitting from our home country of Thailand. Xin Chao. What is Xin Chao? Vietnam, Xin Chao. Okay, nice and loud, man. Ohayo. What is Ohayo? What is Ohayo? Okay. Marhaba. Marhaba. What is marhaba? There. Okay. Cool. Wow, we actually got it. Okay. Well done for actually knowing the language. You guys have to understand, like, when I was in the United States, in California, we knew hola, and maybe some people knew bonjour, and that was the fact that, like, 15 and 6 years. You're pretty good. Okay, so I'm gonna bring an incident up. You need to, I'll bring up a negative, and you try to bring up a positive. Okay, so negative, and I will point to someone with two hands, because pointing with one hand is kind of weird. I will start with them, and then we'll keep going to the right until people run out of positive things to say about them. So, glass half empty. My parents got divorced, and my parents wanted to live together. What is it?
Good about that.
Hold on. the daunting. Now, you can also say pass if you like to. Do you have anything positive about your parents getting divorced? Not yours. Parents getting divorced.
Wait, does that have
Like a real positive that you can actually spin that and say, you know what, there's actually positives about parents getting divorced. Now, this is a situation where some of the topics we'll bring up today, might be awkward or uncomfortable, but I'm going to trust that you guys are mature about it. Because, for example, for me, I've had my parents get divorced 4 times. So to mock it might actually hurt my feelings.
What?
So, yes.
Well, at least he has like 8 parents.
Okay, so positive. Okay, so a positive is I have 8 parents. What's a positive about having 8 parents?
Well, money.
Okay, so more money for more presents, okay? Yeah.
Get like 2 celebrations or 8 celebrations.
2 celebrations for holidays, yes?
They each want to make it up for you, so take you to really go and do things every time.
They feel guilty for being divorced, so when they see you, they want to make up for it, so it's like they do nice things. Yes, there's actually an expression called Disneyland Daddy, which means that whenever you spend your 3 days with Dad, he likes to try, you like to take you all over the place. Well, normally you're with your dad, you're like, yeah, go read a book. First up, the positive.
You don't have to see people fight around your house that often.
Good. So a lot of the fighting that used to occur with your parents no longer occurs. Good. Krista? Okay, pass. You want to pass? Right over? A positive parenting divorce. Right? Okay, so the parents are like, who's telling you what to do? And actually, sometimes your parents might even argue about how to parent you. So now when you're at Dad's house, you just do Dad's rules, and Mom's house, you do Mom's rules. Jenna? Yep, they definitely don't look gifts in. Lonnie? Yep, you can decorate your room. You have 2 rooms to decorate. I would have 2 different rooms I have. Good. Pass. Knitting? Pass. Pass.
Well, if you hate one of your parents, you can just go live with the other parent.
Right. If you actually dislike one of your parents, you'll see them a lot less. My closest friend, when they got divorced, he all of a sudden he went from seeing his children every day for 30 days a month to all of a sudden just every other weekend. So just Saturday and Sunday. So 30 days a month to 4 days. Unfortunately, the negative, glass half empty, is now he only sees his children 4 days a month and they actually live under your roof. So that's a negative. Okay, so I'm depressed, but Justin's luckily next to me to make it positive again. Glass half full. Pass.
Your parents are divorced and then get remarried before their parent dies.
Okay, right. So there's another house you can live with. Yep. Right. You can actually choose which school you want to go to. Where your dad lives around his neighborhood, or around your mom's neighborhood. Ricky.
If your parents move across the world, then maybe you have a chance to explore Mexico and other places across
Because
the world.
really good. Because once you're divorced, your parents actually can now choose their future differently than their other one. So they can actually things that always kind of kept them together with their spouse. Now they can say, "I've always wanted to go to Africa." They can move to Africa. But what happens if you don't go with them?
We don't see them.
You don't see them ever. So like, there's a chance. Like my dad moved to Zambia, so then we moved to Zambia, which was in Africa for 3 years. I didn't see him for 3 years. So that's a negative. Yep. Not until I was after college.
You get more mature because like you.
That's awesome. Yeah. Can you explain that further? Because I would say that was the big one. When you get more.
You get more mature because you sometimes your parents are very overprotective, but that's kind of fading away as you get older.
Right. So you get divorced. All of a sudden, the conversations you have are adult conversations. I was 9 years old talking about the finances and how much money we need in order to have enough food. I was talking about rent. I was talking about marriage and divorce and relationships, and I was not.
I was the parents were talking.
And so, so there's good and bad things because usually your parents don't talk about relationships around you. So, because they have partners right next to them. When the partner leaves, it's a conversation. It's an awkward conversation. Well, plus, I think personally, like I don't talk about it in front of my kids because your parents still see you as being second and third and fourth graders. Like they forget how much your minds are like young adult minds. Like you're having like young adult thoughts. And sometimes when they see you, they still picture like the younger version. That's what I can say. Like when I look at Jack and Beck, Beck is a 10th grader, 2 years away from college. I still see her in my little pecker booth. You know, so I still see her. So I just personally, when like there was a situation with drugs that happened recently at high school. And so she's talking about that, and I'm like, so you know people who do drugs? Yeah. Come on, it's high school, of course. And I'm like, whoa, because so there's things like that that are uncomfortable. Think about yesterday's conversation we had. We were talking about uteruses. Remember we were talking about things with birth parents and how you feed them? Like that's something that parents don't want to believe that's even inside your head. And so it's like I'm going to think that you're still young and you never thought about that. So it's called denial. If we deny you guys those thoughts, we're going to talk about it. Okay, another negative, and I'm going to have you guys. Anybody have a negative they can bring up? Yep, awesome.
You have more friends because if you're around that neighborhood, you get like friends from there.
Yeah, you have two neighbors. Yep. Yep, you see for last time, but you have more of them. So last time, I think last time. Okay, so I'll pick one more topic. I want you guys to think of a negative topic. Negative topic is you've been into school for 20 years. Sorry, you've lived in a place all your life, and your parents decide after your 6th grade year you have to move to a new country. Okay, and you have to move to a brand new country, and you have to lose all your friends. So, move to a new country, lose all your friends. Start again with Lana's. The negative is you have to start all over again. Any positive about moving? Make new friends. Ben? New experiences such as? So, like in your country right now, if you live here, you probably don't explore it as much. You go to a new country, you explore. Yep. Knitting? Yep. Some new landmarks, new places. Okay, what else is good? You learn a new language. Yep. So maybe you spoke Japanese before, now you learn English, hypothetically. Okay. Miles? And why is that better?
Well, if your school, like, say if there's a small school,
Okay, I'm going to go negative now. Okay, when you leave, there's a chance that the previous school had different expectations. So now you come to this school and you're now a weak student. At your old school, you're actually really smart, or you thought you're smart, and now here you feel dumb. And that's really frustrating at the end of the day. Both of my children's grades dropped in 2 subjects. 2 subjects they were still fine in, but 2 subjects they dropped a ton. It's way harder here in 2 subjects. So they now actually felt like. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is we're going to combine the circle, which I mean is I want Miles to go join the Fruzy as you have a circle, Kaylin join to Justin, and I'm going to create a new topic so we're going to go around smaller. So go ahead and Kaylin or Justin create 2 circles. So fold the circle, fold the circle. Fold the circle in. Okay, so here's your negative topic. I will do one negative topic and you guys do negative topic. Here's a negative topic, a real life topic that's horrible. Okay, so here's a horrible thing, and let's see if you guys can have a mature, intelligent conversation. Okay, about 3 weeks ago, my mother-in-law, my wife's mom, found out she had brain cancer. She had surgery, and now, so she had the surgery and she's surviving, but now she's really uncomfortable. She's in her bed, and she might pass away and die soon. Okay, so if she was to die, that would be horrible. We would miss her terribly. Okay. Figure out who you want to start with, and what will be positives, though, about someone actually passing away. Okay? So figure out the topic of that.
I have it's good to know before that her last day, so that if you ever want to do something.
Okay, one thing I noticed, you guys read the tone of the topic, and all of a sudden now all the giggling should have just evaporated. Because is there a chance someone here has actually lost someone close to them? Okay, but sometimes, has anybody actually lost someone, a parent or grandparent? There are positive things that happen with the funeral, with the experience with your family, so there are pauses that come from it. Okay, so try to think about those, but please make sure you have a somber tone that matches the somber tone. Right? And you guys, at this point, if you can go around and you can pass too, because this might be an uncomfortable topic.
Well, if something bad's happening, like if your mom or your dad died, they have to stay for like a little, which means like all the money that they received before
You guys can also, can you do me a favor? Can you guys have someone else repeat what they said? Because sometimes the people next to them hear. Can you have someone else paraphrase from the around the table? So what did Pin just say here, and what did the last person say?
I think that the first step will make it easier for any of us that pass because it's the first time.
Okay, let's actually talk now. Anybody have one where if you actually, imagine you were a counselor and someone actually, which means you're someone who helps people out, and they came to you and they were very distraught and sad about the fact they lost someone close to them. What do you think would be the best things you would tell the person right then? Like, there's some that are realities. A few of you mentioned the financial thing. If someone passes away, oftentimes there's an inheritance and money is passed on. But if someone came to you in tears, saying, I'm sad my grandmother just died, if you were to respond with, you might get money from an inheritance, that would be an awkward reaction. Okay, but think about what are some ways, from what you heard, what would be one of the best things you could say would actually might make them feel a little bit better? Madam?
That like she was in pain and then now she's not really.
Right, so she was in pain and now she's not hurting. That's a really good one. Una, you just said, what was yours?
It'll make it easier the next time.
Right. Life and death is a part of our life, and it'll make it better the next time it actually happens. You'll get through this. The next time will be better. I had a close friend who passed away, and this sounds selfish, but what it did is it made me appreciate more that I was alive, and I ended up like thinking about my family a little bit more. There's a word called complacent, where you take for granted. Like sometimes you just take for granted that you have two parents, you take for granted that you have siblings. And as soon as this person who was a dad that died and he had children that were still alive, it made me realize, wow, I can't imagine if one of my children died. I think it happened recently at ISB, a situation where I didn't know the boy in high school who passed away, the boy who died in the pool. I didn't know him at all. But him passing away really affected me. I felt horrible for a week. So I can only imagine people who were friends with me because I started appreciating the more. Okay, let's now flip the tone because that's a pretty heavy topic. Okay, this is one that actually applies to you on a regular basis. You try out for a sport, or for a first chair in a concert, or for a school play, or for student council, and they choose somebody else. Okay, they choose somebody else. Okay, nope. Make sure you repeat what the person said. Repeat each other, you guys.
If you don't make a sports team, you can ask the coach actually like to none of us like if you don't just ask the coach and tell you how to ask.
Keep going. So once you go to round one, two.
Maybe it turns
So I think, my personal views, and it's so hard to tell my son and my daughter this, but to me, when you don't make something, that is the most important thing you can ever do, is not make it. Because your entire life, you're not getting those. Right now, you get a lot, and your parents try to help you out and give you a lot so that you can be as successful as possible. But once you're an adult, it's all about not getting those. And about how you go for a job and don't get it. You try for college, don't get it. You ask someone to marry you, and they say no. Okay? You tell your child to do something, and they ignore you. And so there's an element called resilience where you have to learn it at a very young age. The odds of any of you becoming professional athletes or musicians or thespians, the odds of that are small. There are 208, there's 30 basketball teams, each has 12 players, 360 professional NBA basketball players in the world. The odds of you going to be a professional basketball player, there are 10,000 doctors. You have a better chance of being a heart surgeon, a brain surgeon, than to be a doctor. Okay, so I'm just saying statistically the odds are. So all of this that you're learning, it's actually something you need to learn. The quicker you bounce back. Some people will do what when they? What are some of the negative reactions you see when someone doesn't make something? What do they do? I quit. They'll stop. They'll play again, which is good because it shows they never really like the sport. If they quit, that was a good thing for them because they should have been doing it. Wow. They'll yell and smash around. They'll have a physical outburst. There's still a bunch of I've seen from middle school students.
Is this mental breakdown possible?
Yeah, you can actually get so depressed. Yeah, for example.
They say bad things about the coach and the players.
Right. They say about the coach and the players that did make it. They immediately, and that happened this year a few times. I've seen, oh, that guy didn't deserve it. They start talking about that person. They talk about the coach. Okay. I had a JV team for softball, which is 6th grade through 12th grade, and there were people that didn't make it, and they made comments about me. They made comments about the kids who didn't make it. It's a challenge. It's an interesting thing for me because I have my son who tried out for sports that I coach. So that's an interesting challenge for me because if he does make it, what are people going to say?
Just chosen because it's his son.
It's my son. And if he doesn't make it, then I have my son. So what I ended up doing this year is I brought up 3 coaches to watch all the players so that we all kind of came to an agreement. So it was.
So did we?
What's that? But at the same time, there's other times where I would actually say sometimes you don't want to make a team because you can make the next team down. You know, like you guys have like levels of teams, and I'd say sometimes it's better to be like the best or get more playing time in the lower level than to be like on the bench on the higher level.
Because they don't
It's-
know.
But it's nice to have both. There's a skill to learning how to be the stud. Like there's a skill to being the best on the team and being like the leader. If you're always the person who comes off the bench, there's not a lot of pressure. So I think there's a benefit to sometimes being the single best, where everyone counts on you, listens to you, you have to make the speech, you have to motivate. But some of you are used to being like the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th person, not the best. The problem with that is you're used to always being on the sidelines. So it's good to have both. I mean, they're both skills. Okay, so question for you as far as this. This was a far more deeper conversations. Pros and cons to having conversations like this. What are some pros and cons to talking about this? Ricky, what's that?
The topic is actually pretty heavy. It might bring people down.
Okay. You said a few things. It's not motivating, plus it might bring back negative thoughts in your head. Uno?
It's not that fun.
It's not fun at all.
Boring.
Okay, so fun and boring are 2 different things.
It's not.
Okay, can someone react to that? He said it's not fun, it's boring. Okay, so where's that?
It's not boring. It's just not fun.
Inside Out. What was the most important emotion in Inside Out? Not joy.
Happiness.
Why was sadness? Anybody remember the end of Inside Out? Why sadness was so important? Well, sadness leads to joy. Also, what does sadness end up bringing around? What did it? Hannah? It brought friends around you. So actually, you might find that if all of our relationships are based on just being happy and having fun all the time, the reality is that's not what you need in a friend. It's just someone who's always playing with you. That is what is called a playmate, who just plays you all the time. Some of you actually want a little bit more out of a friend than that. However, some of you will go through your entire life just having fun friends, and that's okay too. I realized, like when I was in high school, I thought I just wanted the fun friends, the cool guys that went on the weekends and had fun and went to parties. And I realized I'd much rather just have one person that I hang out with and talk to all. I found that that's the kind of person I wanted. I'd like to have deep conversations when it's sad sometimes. And a lot of people are like, dude, you're such a downer. So as I got older, I realized, you know what? I don't care because I much feel more comfortable having these kind of conversations. Question is an odd thing. There's one time, this is what was really odd. This goes back to about a month ago. can anyone think of why, when I was in high school, one time I was talking to a girl, okay, we were talking, and a guy overheard us, and we were talking about death and sadness. And this dude's like, man, you are so gay. He said I was gay. Because I was talking to myself, dude, guys don't talk about this kind of stuff. So, what do you think about that comment that was made, that the fact that I was talking about sadness, and he said that I was gay, would that ever come up today? Do you think people would ever be, if you had a sensitive conversation, do you think it's possible? It happens all the time. So part of it is, if you look at it, Miles' is a unique situation. Miles, the way we just happened to flow our circle, you were over here with all the girls. You get over here, we had only 2 girls over here. So, say something about to what extent you guys think that the gender determines whether or not you're allowed to have sensitive topics. Do you guys ever sit down and talk about sex? You boys? Yeah? You'd say yes? Okay. If you did it a bunch at the lunch table, what would be the reaction? If you were always the guy who was wanting to pick, let's
get laughed at and you get joked around, you might even get turned into bullying and you might get suspended for your life. Wow. You won't socialize.
So socialize, it'll impact your socializing, correct? Okay. But also, as Ugo kind of said, to always have these kind of talks is a no. So I always do this kind of thing. So I would just argue that as you get older, you start to see the balance occur more, where you'll have more conversations that are in depth and thoughtful. Okay, so a long period of time, that was called half full, half empty. It's something that's actually, it's semi, again, if you're ever here with some friends and kind of bored, it's something you could possibly do. Or with your parents. Okay, so go ahead, just while you're here, go ahead and grab the gear books and read over this. Grab the gear books, keep these chairs like this. We'll see the chairs like this.